Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the March agenda, and Tuesday the 14th of March. Item 1, any items, any apologies for absence, Andrew?
Yes, apologies from Councillor Atkins and Councillor Clark.
Right. Any declarations of interest under 2?
None.
I don't know if I need to declare interest by being a landowner with riparian rights, but I will if you wish.
Item 3 then, minutes of the previous meeting. They've all been circulated, and I hope you've all been through them. So we'll be looking at any points arising from that at item 4. But could I have a proposal for these?
Fine.
All in favour?
Interest me has been amended.
Right. So we've moved swiftly on to item 4 then. Any matters arising from the minutes as circulated? On page 1?
Yes, item 21, question from members of the public regarding double yellow lines on Lower Road.
Yeah.
We said that we would send a response through to the householder, suggesting that when it happens, they would contact the council to report it. Have we done that?
No, I haven't. That's super able.
Where are the double yellow lines they're worried about? Sorry.
No, they don't exist.
Well, there are some that should.
Oh, they do exist, I beg your pardon. This is the one.
Okay, so we have that to do, Andrew.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Second page.
Been through it.
Nothing.
I've got a couple of matters on there. On item 24C, this is what you've just been talking about.
Sorry, yes, I was going to bring that up.
This will come up under
Yes.
recreation.
Yes.
And also E. Has there been any further?
No, and I was hoping David was going to be here tonight, Councillor Beanie, but no, he's had absolutely no response. I spoke to him. So we need to obviously
Decide on any further action.
Ah, sorry, you're there, Dave. I do apologise. You obviously came in after I started.
Stealthily.
Yes. That was very quiet.
Yeah.
So you've heard nothing. I know you and I spoke.
No, I've not
Not a
heard
word.
about Sports England.
I suggest we discuss that under recreation ground. Yes.
Sports England are having real problems with their financial growth because we are talking to them on tides and everything out there, reassessing exactly what the grants they can do. So you won't get much from them.
We're not expecting anything from them apart from the okay that we
And
can.
that takes even longer.
It's withdrawing.
Honestly, they're in limbo at the moment.
Yeah.
It's a nightmare trying to. Even the district are having problems talking to them.
Yeah.
But this is to withdraw the objection that they've made to 2 planning applications.
It's a nightmare trying to get anything out of it. Honestly, it is. We are having real problems with tides and other things, warmer tennis courts and everything. So it is something you've still got to keep bashing on the door of them, but you won't get a response.
We'll
quickly,
return.
unfortunately.
If I think we'll return to this a
You do,
little bit
you do,
later
sorry,
on
yes.
with recreation, but I mean, it can't go on forever. You know, the sort of holding things up.
They're changing everything at the top.
Cool. Okay. Anything else on page 2? Well, that being the case, I think we'll swiftly move on then to item 5 and 5A. Can we discuss anything under PCSO, please?
No report received.
Right. Well, in that case, Councillor?
Another quick one on PCSOs. I don't know whether did any of you attend the Parish Council meeting, district Parish Council meetings?
I think
Well, sorry, I'm late there,
Was
but-
going to, was unwell.
Well, no, don't worry. The police are completely reorganising how they work the policing within the whole district. PCSOs have gone down from 18 to 6.
Right.
Oh,
However, just like that, they've increased more police officers and sergeants. So, as a whole, we're still on exactly the same. In fact, we've increased police officers within the district.
Yeah. May I
Because it is,
just
but
ask,
PCS, sorry.
the tenets of that, you know, is it that they're going to? Or
No,
have?
it's been done, it's been done.
Oh.
It's been done as we're speaking. So all I can say is, can the, sorry Chair, through you, can please the clerk ask the superintendent, I've forgotten his name now, because he's brand spanking new, or even Paul Burrell, do you know Paul Burrell, who is the old superintendent? Who's still in situ, ask them to say on the dates that you have your parish council meetings, can we have a PCSO once every 6 months? Whether it be a PCSO or a sergeant or a police officer, someone just to report, and so that's what they are doing now. So personally, I wouldn't put a PCSO's report any longer in your agenda, because you'll just turn around and say, oh, they're never here, which is what has happened across the parishes, across the towns. But can I ask the clerk to ask the police, can he come in once every 6 months?
Yeah, okay.
Which I think would be better,
Yeah,
personally, rather than nothing, because at the moment you're just looking at it and saying nothing. And say on this time, as long, because the superintendent said it doesn't matter, as long as they're the first on the agenda, which they are in your case, and they can go off again.
Yeah.
So please ask, and if there are any problems, because it all comes under my community portfolio, please tell me. This is on the district side. Please tell
I mean,
David.
this always was the arrangement that we had with
Yes,
them.
I know, and we wanted it. Whether St Margaret's is my ward in the district, and we keep on asking. And we had someone called River Jarvis, which was a cracking name. He never appeared, and we had a bust on. He was and some of them are very good. Some of them actually do appear, but some don't. So all I can ask is, can you please ask? Can the clerk please ask them? And if it doesn't happen, then we can go on the case. But I've been assured that they will appear, but they honestly can't appear every single time.
No. I'll consider
To all
it
the
done.
parishes.
can I intervene here? A week ago I had lunch with Matthew Scott, Police and Crime Commissioner.
Well, it must be fun.
And I met him many times actually. I might pass that to our parish clerk. And I did mention to him again, as I have done before, but I congratulated him on his solving knife crimes in urban situations, but did suggest that us rural people feel a little neglected at times. And he did say that the next time we have vandalism in the recreation ground or everything else, our parish clerk should phone him directly and report it. Only the details are in there.
Thank you.
That's brilliant, because I can actually hit him on a WhatsApp group very, very quickly. But
Yeah.
he's very good at doing that. No, he's very good. He does live in North Kent.
Sure.
Yeah, I have my views on PCCs, but anyway, we'll leave that.
Right, we'll press on then to item 5B, and perhaps you'd like to continue, sir, Councillor?
On the Kent side of life, that's what I'm here for, is Kent. I honestly have, sorry, I'll stand up. I've lost it.
I think you sit down.
I don't know what, I haven't been here for a couple of months, so I'm really sorry, I do apologise. I don't know what Nigel has updated you on. So all I'm really trying to do is to go back in the last month that you might have missed. There was a no smoking day in Kent or last Wednesday, which I'll send the clerk the report, so you don't have to take notes, if that's okay. And it's basically to encourage people not to smoke in Kent, which I gave up, but I'm fake, but it's good. It's really good that KCC's no use empty initiative have brought back, within the whole of Kent, 7,500 empty homes back into use since 2005, which I think is really good news. And Dover has had one property recently just brought back in after 11 months of no use. So it is an initiative that they're trying to bring it back, and we all are doing. We're doing it at district level, we're doing it anyway. There are so many unused properties around, and whether they're private properties or commercial properties, that's what we really want to come back. You've probably heard about the waiving of the fees for the Coronation Street parties. That's gone on. There are lots of parishes around the district that because of the Jubilee, which was so close to the coronation, they've just turned around and said let other people organise it, because a lot of parishes actually organise Jubilee events, blah, 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 and it's an awful lot of effort to do it. So I have no idea what you're trying to do as a parish, but I know a lot of parishes are leaving it to local pubs and things like that to organise it because of the effort that you put in during the Queen's Jubilee, and it is a lot of effort. It's a lot of effort trying to get people actually motivated to do it. This is a cracker, which will also probably come back to. Community services consultation, which you probably all heard about. This is not about cutting community services to the district or to it is about KCC, who've got so many old properties around the place that they want to sort of bring it all into one. So there are a lot of properties around that they're going to sell. They say we'll sell off, and therefore our carbon footprint is less, but it's not really. The carbon footprint just goes on to someone else. But they are saying that. So they are basically consolidating, but the services, community services, are still there. They still will happen. The real problem the problem one is up in Elvington, and that they've got about a 30-minute passage drive. But the community services there, we put a lot of money into it, and if you actually look, I'm sure David will talk about the precepts that are all coming in, but there is a lot of money going into adult and children's services within KCC. That's where all the money goes. It's where 75% of the money goes. And so they're still doing it. So yes, we are consolidating, but no, we're not cutting the services. And there's a lot of bad press, or not press, sorry. There's a lot of bad rumour out there saying you're cutting everything. But we're not. We're Woolmer had a few problems with what were on them, and we're sorting them out. And finally, the adult social service care charges, and that's literally just been extended until the 25th of March, which is next week, end of next week, and there's a consultation gone out there. So, which is still on the website, and whether anyone wants to read the website, that's fine. But any input would be greatly received by KCC.
Thank you.
That's good news. You're going to hit me with the bad news now.
Any questions?
Can I just add that my tame taxi driver does 2 school runs a day for disadvantaged children, earns enough to not have to do any more work, but can confirm that it's all going ahead as usual.
That's all still going ahead of the music. However, there is a review going on. There's a new portfolio that has just taken over, and he is reviewing sets. The amount of money that KCC is forking out for the special education needs transport is, quite frankly, ludicrous. And David and myself were at KCC, and it is, for the amount of pupils that are doing it, the amount of money is spent is ludicrous. It is costing some journeys 35 quid to go 1 mile and back again. So that's 70 quid to do it. That's not that we shouldn't do it, because we have to do it. How it is being reviewed. So you will hear a lot of rumours going around that it's Rory Love. He's in charge.
Well, my taxi driver gets paid £200 to take 4 children to school in the morning.
Yeah.
So that
One way.
One way.
Yeah.
And you bring it back.
£200 in the evening.
That's
pickup.
400 quid a day. So we do agree with that, and it's been reviewed by Rory Love, who's just been given the portfolio with this,
Okay.
and watch this space, because he is.
You might have to sit on a taxi rank again.
He is, definitely.
So it will be sorted, but we as a council have to do it. So it's a statutory duty that we have to do it. But it is, we are being taken to make. you know, why can't schools actually why can't KCC pay a driver to drive all these kids around, but then you get a different disadvantaged kids. So some kids aren't allowed, they have to have complete silence in a cab. So one
And some of
child
them
will
have
walk
to have some form of mentor along with the
Exactly,
taxi driver.
exactly. So each child is different. So it's basically watch this space. I do agree with you. It is a ludicrous amount of money spent by KCC.
Thank you very much indeed.
Sorry, Chair.
Any
Thank
more questions for our county councillor?
No, just one observational point that we are organising something for the coronation.
Lovely, good on
We
you.
are definitely as a village, yes. That's
No, that's brilliant.
Yes.
I'll come along to what day is it on? The coronation
Yeah,
day?
in
Or
the evening.
the evening?
Yes,
Oh,
7 o'clock in
fireworks.
the evening.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant. Fireworks.
Yes,
All right.
Yes.
Oh, brilliant.
yes.
Anyway,
So,
And
District Councillor
food
Bailey.
and music.
It's quite nice actually to listen to a KCC report and not get no
Yeah.
backlash from it. I can give a DDC report this evening, which is quite nice and pleasant. So. Right, so to start off with, there's a local heroes awards going on. So there's a few ranges of categories. Litter picking hero under 18, litter picking hero over 18, green eco-friendly business, community project, and green eco-friendly school. So there's an award that's going to happen. So if you yourself or you know anyone that you think you could enter as a candidate, it's www.dover.gov.uk/GBSC. So that's quite a nice sort of good thing going on. Obviously we've got the Great British Spring Clean, which is Rivers Day is the 22nd of March at Kersley Abbey. So obviously is looking for volunteers for that. We're not actually allowed to attend ourselves
Because of the permit.
yeah.
We're allowed to attend, but no photographs.
Well, I actually got told that I'm not allowed to
There
attend.
you go, but no photographs.
Okay. Little Lotto. We get told so many different things. Little Lotto. So there's an app now. There's a mobile app that you can download, a DDC app. Can't imagine it taking off myself, but you can more or less take a photo of yourself, putting some litter in the bin, and you get nominated into an award, and potentially you can win £100. So there's a £100 reward each month for anyone that wants to put some litter in the bin. Obviously, we had our budget last month. When was it? 1st March, wasn't it? 1st March?
No, about 6.
Anyway, obviously, unfortunately, council tax, like everything, has gone up.
We've had the bill.
Yeah, yes, but
Bill came through on Monday, didn't it?
2.98%. But DDC has still got the lowest. I'm going to emphasise that the lowest council tax in Kent. We are still the lowest council tax payer in Kent, which is well, yeah, and we're
No, the DDC precinct.
It's the
is
DDC,
yeah,
not the rest
DDC.
of it.
So it's not KCC, it's not the fire brigade, it's not the police, or whatever you have to call it. And when you get that little list.
yeah.
Yes, I suppose it is.
Some other good stuff. So we've got now a community routes bus in Dover. I don't know if you've had any sort of been sending bits of correspondence around and all that sort of stuff.
It's been in the papers.
It's
hasn't it?
it's been in the papers. So we can obviously, I don't know if it's been to River yet, but I can ask for it, request for it to come to River, and sort of it wants advertising really, because it's great. It's obviously for someone who's hasn't got a lot of contact with people, whatever, and they just want to meet up, have a chat, have a cup of tea. It's got tea making facilities in it. It's got computers for people who haven't got no access to computers or not particularly computer minded. If they're just want to give DDC general feedback. The team that come out of the community team, they're really good team, they're a great team. So if you want me to get that booked in for the day here, I can do. Levelling up fund and bids. I'm sure you've there again heard by now that we've won £18 million from central government to spend on Ben Street and Dover. Obviously there's a lot of sort of stuff running around about what they think is good in Dover, but I'm sort of really pleased and really behind it. I can't wait to start seeing Ben Street be redeveloped.
Can I ask with the money is the money given for the development of it?
Yeah.
And then what about ongoing running costs afterwards? Because you've got the
So,
White Cliffs experience that ended
Yeah,
up
so
with a
obviously,
failure.
so White Cliffs, that's a KCC
Well, it is now. It was
Yeah.
DDC and they couldn't afford to run it. So what you don't want is Bench Street to have exactly the same, that you build this wonderful thing and then there's no ongoing
You might be able
costs
to help me more,
associated
you
with
would
it.
know more about what, I believe, and tell me if I'm wrong, it all sort of, it gets designed and it goes out to tender for people to run it, is that right?
The whole,
Supposed to be a money
sorry,
making
Chair, can I just do it as
Is that
on a,
Yes, okay.
basically, you've got two sides of Bench Street. You've got the Banksy side and you've got the Funky Monkey side. Funky Monkey side, those buildings on Funky Monkey side are they're dilapidated, they're falling down. Funky Monkey had to close because it was falling down anyway. So the levelling up bid is for the Funky Monkey side. So that is all going to be demolished within, I think by the 1st of April, where it's coming down. And what they're doing is an education. So the whole thing is based on creative and education centre. We have an education. We can't say it because it hasn't been announced, but you'll know if you use it. So they are building an education centre for technology, the internet and everything. So that's going to be one part of it. The next part of it is going to be offices for new enterprises, SMEs, and all that, which will do it. So there will be, a building there on the, as you're walking down underneath from the town centre on the left hand, and there will also be from another fund we've got, the creative centre we're doing in Bench Street. So what you're trying to do is do a creative centre and education centre. So no, it's not going to be a Discovery Centre, White Elephant, which we learned. Apparently, I wasn't in it. So that's one thing they don't want to do on that side. So that's what they're going to do on that side. When you look on the other side, which is basically the Banksy building, and that side, which will be demolished as well, they're going to build houses, commercial. They're going to keep the crypt. So the crypt is going to be something you could look into. So they're going to dig it all, clean it all up, and there's going to be a glass sort of thing that you can walk through, and then up to I think it's Town Street. So that's what we're trying to do at the moment. We have had a couple of I think there's been consultations. I think the team went down to St Mary's Church about a week ago, and they're doing another one. But they are consulting the whole time. The problem is that on the left-hand side, levelling up build has got to be spent, or you've got to actually done it by 2025. So you are working very quickly at doing that. The Banksy building, there should have been a news release sent out today. It might be tomorrow about.
No,
Was it
it's
today?
out.
Did it
No,
go out
it's
today?
out.
It's out
Yeah.
today about what we're going to do with the Banksy building. It's really love to save it. It's 4.5 million to save it. I was can't you put it on Facebook and then bricks for like Berlin Wall. Who wants a bit of Banksy and you've got to clean it all up. So so we've got this specialist firm taking photographs of it and try and then put it somewhere or anything because it was iconic when it was there. Unfortunately, it was covered over by some grumpy landowner who didn't like it. And even if you actually look on Banksy's website, he was going to take it down anyway and done a sort of a flag at the very, very bottom. So that's the side of that. So no, it won't be a Discovery Centre. And if you really want to know about what's happening at the Discovery Centre at the moment, the theatre is being saved.
Yes, I know that.
Not many people should know about it because it's not actually going to be saved until they actually come out with the planning application in a week's time.
People that were shouting about it have gone quiet.
We've lost the silver screen, unfortunately, after 30
No, it's not lost
No,
it.
it's
You've not
not.
lost it. No one wants to run it.
No.
Yeah, I know.
They're struggling to find that old boy who's been in there for
37 years.
37 years, and no one wants to take it on. We have gone out as a district council. We've gone out to ask people to do it. No one actually wants to run it.
No, it's being opened specially for the Dover Film
Yes,
Festival.
we'll do all that, but no one. So if you don't want
Nobody
to run
wants to
it,
run it. No.
that's great. So it's not lost. It's still there. No one wants to run it.
I'd like to return to Councillor Feedy.
Please do. Sorry, I was.
Sorry, that was me.
Yes, yes,
Well,
the answer. So that was, thank you, Ollie, for that. And that's obviously sort of around about it, really. I think I could probably cut it there, Chairman.
Thank you very much indeed. Any questions for Councillor Bainey, District
Oh,
Councillor Bainey?
sorry, and I will just obviously feedback, I think we spoke about it as I come in, just about Sports England. So I sent an email out back, which would have been a month ago, and I've not had no response back from...
We'll return to that subject, but
Yeah.
maybe if you, I don't know if you're going to be staying with us.
I'm going to go, yeah, if that's okay. If that's okay.
But we will be talking about that in under the recreation ground.
Okay.
But thank you very much indeed for your work and your attendance.
Thank you.
Thank
That's all
you.
right. Cheers.
If I could, Mr Chairman, just say to Councillor Vinnie, thank you so much once again for helping out with rangers, the removal of their grass, etc. We have a plan now, thanks to you.
Yeah, so obviously
Councillor Vinnie has been very, very helpful.
You're welcome. We've managed to sort it out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to go on now to 5C and inquire if any of my fellow parish councillors have something to say. Come on this way today.
Not to
Pauline?
select now.
Yeah.
No.
Councillor Innes? Oh, no,
No,
sorry,
sorry.
you're behind.
Nothing,
James?
Chairman.
Chair, can I pop off as well?
Yes, indeed.
Thank you very
Very
much.
nice to see you.
Thank you very much.
Bye. Patrick?
Well, I don't know which of us is going to do it, but between us, Nick and I have problems with the 30-mile limit.
Oh, yes,
It's
yeah. But
20.
Will we do that
20 mile
later?
an hour, yes.
20
yes,
mile an
Yes,
hour,
yeah.
Okay.
We think it's,
Nick?
Yeah, nothing, Mr Chairman, no.
until we get to that.
Right, we'll go on then to number 6. Councillors, any questions from members of the public? We have had an email which I'd like the clerk to just cover, please.
Question is, from Mrs Nicholas, my question is, will the River Parish Council support me in my efforts to stop the illegal parking in River, especially in the Chiltern Way area? I was fortunate to get help from the community safety units, also parking services, who were stepping up patrols, not just outside the school, but the Chiltern Way area. I haven't spoken to she may or may not have spoken to Stagecoach. Staff in the post office, pharmacy have spoken to people who park on the pavement near the post box. The EDC councillors have been informed. The parish council support would be most helpful. There was a nasty accident there a couple of years ago. The CSU lady most helpful. There you are, a speaker for the AGM.
Comments?
Yes, I actually had an email from Sue Nicholas which was copied into Councillor Beanie and Councillor Rose, and I replied and said that obviously as River Parish Council, we would do everything possible to deter people from parking illegally, but people that park a vehicle, even if it's a commercial vehicle, and park it correctly, I don't think there's anything we can do.
That is to say legally, not causing a obstruction.
Correct. Councillor Beanie also replied and said that DDC would assist wherever they could, but they could only assist when vehicles were parked illegally. And I have explained that to Sue, and we had a question at the last meeting, and we are replying to that householder saying that if she sees illegal parking, to report it, because that's the only way any of us can do anything is by trying to get enforcement officers down when necessary. But unfortunately, as in most cases, by the time they've rung and the enforcement officers arrive, the vehicle's gone.
I mean, they did have, and I presume they still have a roster up there of what schools they're going to do on what days. I mean, they don't obviously publicise it.
But this isn't actually schools. This is.
I mean,
That's the traffic officers, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, if it's obstruction, it would be the police.
Yeah,
Yes.
that's right.
Good luck
Yes.
with that one.
But it's claimed here that there is illegal parking in River, especially in Chiltern Way, but it's not specific.
No, I mean, if it is vans and lorries, lorries, it might be slightly different, but providing the vans are taxed and parked properly.
Yeah. They're the
They
same
are allowed
as,
to stay
yes,
there.
same
It's
as cars.
annoying, but they are allowed to
Yeah.
stay there.
Yeah, no, the request has altered slightly, or the question was
Illegal.
commercial vehicles parking, it's now illegal vehicles. So I said if it's a commercial vehicle, there's nothing we can do legally to stop them
I
parking.
mean, they might stop a lorry, they might come out and move a lorry, but
Yes,
yeah.
yeah.
Any other
They're not
points
supposed
on
to be
that?
Mm.
But it is a contentious issue. It's a problem
It's
not
everywhere.
just in River, it's everywhere in Dover, Whitfield, you name it, we've all
We
got
were
the
allowed
same
five or
problem.
The
six
parking-
on the street.
Generally.
Parking generally,
Well,
yes,
oh, yes, yeah.
people
There-
park badly.
There are general problems in River. I have a specific one near me. There is legal parking almost opposite my house, but it stops any lorry that's coming down illegally getting through. And people, a yellow line that covers sort of 2 cars' length would stop people being got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to move their vehicles. But nobody seems to be interested in it. And again, the yellow lines opposite the co-op are really now irrelevant now that the one-way system has changed directions. But, you know,
Right.
with it.
Well, thank you, Patrick.
So no,
Right, have you come along specifically?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
please. Not quite on that scale, but I would like to ask what advice can be given to anyone who visits River and has got an electric car but can't recharge it for the simple reason that the 2 bays along here, specifically for the charging points, are blocked by parked cars.
The Royal Oak's got one as well.
Sorry?
The Royal Oak has a
Public
charging
House
point.
has one in its car park.
Lower Road, the Royal Oak, has got a charging point which is very rarely used.
They're allowed to park on the spaces for
There is a
recharging.
space for
car park.
recharging.
Oh, I
And
think
just
you
by
do.
going in and having a quick word with the
Sorry,
bar.
when I see cars parked there, petrol-driven cars, diesel-driven cars, I think that's
I mean,
discourteous to people who have electric vehicles, quite
Oh,
honestly.
yeah.
So where do they go to recharge their
there
vehicles?
are the only 2 parking spaces here in River.
When,
And the Royal Oak,
And the Royal Oak.
if I may,
usually free.
when it was first proposed to put the electric charging points in, I believe this parish council was informed by the district council that the number of total number in the district, I can't remember exactly what that was now, but we were going to receive 2 of these. That's all it said first of all. There was no indication of where they were going to go, but eventually they went in the most appropriate place. Now then, when they were first erected, we raised a query about a notice, because I'd seen others down, specifically the ones outside the police station, that had a notice on them about who's supposed to be using them and that sort of thing. So these notices were added up there. I think what you're getting at now is what I have seen myself quite a few times, and that is, it's not actually vehicles sort of, they're parking in a rather inconsiderate way that make it difficult for people who wanted to use these charging points. And there is, of course, the other question about people parking on them. Now, that's what the notice covers. People parking on the things for their own purposes rather than for the purpose for which they're put there, as say charging. But specifically, your question is what exactly?
Well, where can they go to recharge their vehicles if they're visiting someone in the village? And there's 2 places there that have got cars parked, which are either diesel or petrol, and
they're
are
either,
not recharging.
that's right,
and
they're either
they're-
parked in a way
Oh,
that's
right,
inconsiderate.
Inconsiderate.
That's
Oh,
to
it's
say,
inconsiderate, totally.
prevent even somebody with an electric car who wanted to charge it. And the other thing is just, just parking there for a couple of hours or something like that.
they have We have had one or two instances of cars parked there having tickets put on, but I think it's two or three only. Yes, since it first started. The traffic wardens can enforce that. They can actually, but they're here not very often because they're a limited resource in the area. But there's nothing we can do to force anyone not to park there. But all we can do every time we see someone there is to report it, and theoretically somebody should come out and put an enforcement notice on it. But it has happened, I think, 2, if not 3 times, right at the very beginning, and then it's not happening.
Either way, that's to say somebody parking actually on one of the spaces or parked in a way that would prevent somebody using them.
That's correct, yes.
But I would say it's a very good point, but I have a hybrid car. Fortunately, mine has petrol as well as electric. My son has a completely electric car, and it's a nightmare finding places to charge. So often the grid, through Kent or somewhere, is out of action, and therefore everyone's traipsing, trying to find somewhere where they can charge their cars.
Exactly.
But we're as a nation not ready for electric cars.
So
to have 2 charging points in River,
the infrastructure's
it's neither here nor there.
Yeah, the infrastructure's not.
Mind you,
Now
it's
it's not in
self-charging
place.
as well.
Is there a number, a direct number that this gentleman can be given, where if that does happen and he has friends who are visiting, and he can contact the
enforcement? Yes, we can certainly.
would that be helpful? Then you could dock them in.
You phone
Yeah.
direct
Have you
to
got
the
it?
district
Have you got
council
a
and
pen?
then just
We
ask
had
for
it, and you
parking.
got it, Andrew, for
Yes,
that.
that parking is, it came up last, the parking services one from last,
The trouble is, by the time they come out, because they're never out,
Absolutely.
if you have a look on
the offender's
WhatsApp
gone,
group,
or your
I
visitors
did
are
ask
It
gone.
just so happens
Came up
that
and
the
I
two
think
bays are
yeah,
quite
put it
clear.
on the
Yeah,
WhatsApp.
that's
group.
well, I'm only parked there, but I've got a temporary car, so mine is not electric, so I couldn't park there.
But you've got the
Colin.
Royal Oak as well.
Could you, have you got a pen there?
Let me just try and
Yes,
find
I
the
have.
number.
Enforcement in general
Thank
is a
you.
problem in rural areas in Kent.
Well, they do come
That's
round,
it,
but
yeah,
they've got the whole
Yes.
of quite a
Got the
big
We'll be
area.
on to it later about 20 miles an hour.
It's the same as
I haven't got the number. I think
can't
I'll
see
join
it
after
on public
the
councils. It was the Dover office, wasn't it?
That's the form.
Isn't it on there?
The alternative is, if we want to press on, is that we take your telephone number.
Yeah, normally.
And
Okay, thank you.
what is your number?
822 677.
And I'll ask Andrew to phone that through.
Drop me a text.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah.
Thank you.
Will do. Thank you very much. Anything else, Andrew?
Well, I've actually got a second on that particular point about electric charging points, about cars parking on there. Another lady has complained about that, and it's a kind of 2-part query. Also saying about people parking on at the bus terminus on the corner, which is a drop curve.
Yes.
This lady uses a mobility scooter and of course can't.
This is
Yeah.
walking. This is walking along on the school side.
Yep.
Just
Yes.
as you reach the
A bit
terminus,
right there.
and that's actually obstructing the easy swing into the first of the two.
Yep. There's someone there
There
tonight.
is some.
There's someone there tonight. I don't
Not when
know.
I do.
Yep.
I mean, obviously it's not, as you say, it's enforcement all the time, but I mean, I wondered if we put something on our Facebook page and it was then
The number.
shared to
It
the
would be-
group,
It would be good actually.
Yes.
It might remind
Yeah.
some people to be
Just
a bit more
keep
considerate.
reminding them. Yeah. It's,
And the number. Could you put the number
And
on?
the
Yeah.
number
Put that on
out,
the back,
absolutely. That's the important thing. I think if people had the number, they would at least try to
And
get
they can
someone
take
out.
a photo
Yes.
of the car and send it to them.
Yeah.
Well, they come about
I mean,
every 2
the ones
months,
in particular,
as far as I can see.
I'd send them a letter.
Right. Well, if there's nothing else on that one, let's talk about planning. item 7, Pauline.
Right, this is going to be quite good, so I've got my glasses in mind. But I have looked at this one already, which is Hawthorne Post, isn't it? He wants to knock his garage down and do an extension on the side, doesn't he?
Oh, this is at Hawthorne.
Yes,
Mm.
I can't see a problem actually.
I'm afraid I haven't got very many here.
Oh, that's recreation ground, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I haven't got a copy.
Another
I
printed
haven't.
copy there.
I mean, it looks fine, but if you go out and have a look, it's not encroaching on anybody. There was
No.
no objections
Quick
online.
look past the
There's
stretch
plenty
here.
of room for it to go. And the nearest house is the other side anyway.
Unless
So-
Paulie's got
No, it's-
I don't
it's
see
quite
why
a-
we should have this.
Quite a well-established form of
It is, quite a few
providing
have done
additional
that. sort of
accommodation.
thing. You can't use the garages these days most times, so
No.
you can't get cars in them.
And,
It looks quite good actually, it's quite a nice extension.
yeah, and he's got, would still have parking, space for parking,
Oh, he would have
at least
quite a
2
bit.
vehicles,
Yeah, he's still got quite a bit
possibly
left.
3.
Yeah, which is probably where he parks at the moment because he probably can't get in there.
Any problems?
No. That's our only one, isn't it?
That's it.
Apart from the six, did you have to be having
No
decisions?
decisions.
So we,
We haven't had
no,
any.
no comments?
No, no comments at all, no objection.
Okay. And no decisions?
No decisions.
Right, well, item 8 is over to you, Andy.
Right, and I think you've got the February accounts in front of you there.
8A.
So, recreation ground, standard groundwork, cleaning. John Hill, he did there were various sort of different things. He repaired a number of things in the recreation ground, plus he sourced a supply of grit and replenished the parish council bins,
Yes.
electrical supply.
Okay. So is the, oh no, it was the water, wasn't it? That was the other one, with the bowls club. That's all sorted now.
Well, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yes.
Okay.
And then the payments for the parish, not a great deal there, just the external audit. Purchased the leaf blower for Robbie, that was.
Yes.
Somewhere there I have got reconciliation. No, it's not quite reconciled, but it goes up and down. But I will sort it out in time for the close of accounts. I'll give you the full annual accounts in the next meeting.
Any questions for Andrew on finance?
That's fine.
Looks as if you've gone away with it again, Andy.
Yeah.
You weren't commenting on,
No comments on that.
right,
The only problem I have about finance is you can be dealt with later when we deal with the 20-mile limit, because the amount of service we got for the amount of money we paid is scandalous, but we'll get onto that as a separate item.
Not sure where it can. I mean,
Neither am I, but it's...
trouble is
you need 8 men to put up 2 signs for half
That's
day,
what they
I'm
said
sorry.
now, yeah.
But anyway, that's something we'd like to discuss later, though.
well, we could bring it up under 14.
Yes,
The
exactly.
beach.
Good idea.
8B,
Item B on that. I had a letter from Kent's Surrey and Sussex Air Ambulance charity, asking for whether we could provide them with a grant of £300 specifically to help Air Ambulance continue to be there for most in need. Last year was the busiest year in their history, attending 3,224 sessions and treating 1,928 patients. I think we have given them a donation previously.
The local Rotary Club support them as well. I have seen at least 2 ambulances appear on the recreation ground over the past months. I think we get value for money from them.
Terrific service.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like
Amazing
to,
service.
Yeah.
I'd like to propose that we send them £500.
Yeah, we make it more, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, let's don't get ahead of ourselves. I think I'd like to propose £500.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 I would second, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Well worth it.
Okay, all agreed, yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, yeah, and the final one is my office printer has bitten dust.
Fine.
It's actually had 4 years. It's done 4 years' work, so it's pretty good for a printer these days.
We're not talking about a major expense here, are we?
No.
We're talking about a bit more money than the standard.
Are you going for a
basic
sorter?
domestic. No, I don't need
In
that.
which
It
case there's...
just needs, it's a couple of £100.
Really?
Reasonable.
Oh yeah, Epsom.
Why don't we make it 500?
I bought mine last time, 60 quid, and it works extremely well.
Well, I've tried that when I first took on this job.
Yeah.
I've got
60 quid printer, it'll last 6 months.
Exactly.
Mine, yeah, for you, yes, fine, yes, couple of hundred quid, that's
I
fine.
spend a bit more.
It's money well spent, yes.
You do think rather than not.
I think they'd rather a lot, yes.
You might even think of getting a quote for one that does sort.
I think the computer will sort. I mean, I can set.
Well, yes, you sort of set.
It's main. I mean, say it will print whatever order I want it to print it in. So it's just a case of it's a pile and there's all 10 in one.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I can have a look what's around, but yeah.
Okay, so that's approved. Everybody's happy with that?
Yes.
Okay. Item 9, over to you, Nick.
Okay, recreational matters. If I may, if we can start off, as you're all aware, we've had some problems with the residents of the flats adjacent to the cottage, which is being converted into a cottage, and they put up private no entry notices. So I asked Pauline, and thank her very much for doing so, we finally got a copy of the land registry documents. You've all got a copy, and it proves that the area that they're talking to, which is the one on the plans outlined in red, is theirs. But we have right of way for work on the walls or the buildings surrounding it. That's actually in the land registry document. And it also shows that the actual small, tiny courtyard behind where they hold their rubbish bins, part of that is indeed ours. And you can see on there, it's the part, I think there was a lean-to there at one time.
Yes.
So we actually own part of that, which we thought so. What I wanted to do with your approval is to ask the clerk if he would write to all of the residents explaining that the work is being undertaken, apologising that it will be necessary to enter their property to work on the outside wall, but to point out that as per the terms of the sale of the land, they've granted us access to work on the joint walls, and that would certainly, because I was talking to John Hill, that we may even, with him, had to have got a, what's it called, a cherry picker there, so that he could do it without entering their property, but it's not necessary. That is what we're looking for. And I know Pauline had a chase to get in, but it's great that we've got it, and it does prove that part of that small yard is indeed ours, so that John will be able to put his bin there with his cafe bits and pieces. My suggestion is that once it's all done, once the building is complete, he's put the windows in, that we then write to the residents and suggest that we bring that courtyard, that small area where they store their bins, and we do, up to Scripty because it's in a terrible state, and they then can use it together with us. But it may be some small way of holding out an olive branch for having said, you've got to let us on your property if we did that once it's all over. And it would tidy that corner up because it's a little bit of a mess at the moment.
Yeah. Well, I think on behalf of the Parish Council, I'd like to thank Pauline for her sterling efforts in getting the thing clarified. And I agree with your suggestion about
Yes.
the course of action.
Yes, if you're all okay, Andrew, if I could.
Give you a small bill.
Yeah, I'll draft something on
It was for the land, all the documents. It's not very much.
Yeah.
£20.
£20, but it's £20 well spent because
Yeah.
it was a
Absolutely.
contentious issue,
What's the
and we've
name?
never known whether part of that
No,
contract was ours or
That's
not,
right.
so we now know.
Okay.
Right, so that's the
stuff. Yeah, I'll have to check with her.
first one.
Doesn't matter.
So that's
Whatever.
over to Andrew on that one. John Hill is moving forward quite quickly. Weather's been against him because it's certainly, well, we've been away, apparently been a very wet period. The paths should have been relayed in direct. They're not, simply because they can't do any outside jobs, and that's not John Hill doing it, it's a contractor doing it. But John Hill is moving forward quickly. He's got the windows and the doors now inside. His brother-in-law, who was helping him, cut two of his fingers off. Apparently, I saw John over the weekend, and he said you wouldn't believe it, but yeah, he's cut himself extremely badly. So John's had to put that back a week or two. But they are moving very quickly. You'll see that the part of the area that they're going to deck, and they're not going to deck it, they're going to sandstone that, so it'll be quite nice. That's done. I've just said to John, clear the mud up before the tennis season starts, otherwise the tennis club will be moaning. But no, John Hill is moving forward well. We unfortunately have a problem we've never had before in the wreck, and that's fly tipping.
Have we really?
Yes, the last week, 10 days whilst I was away, Robert reported it while I was away that he had bins chucked inside our bins and the big bin, and then tonight I got yet another one, about 8 bags dumped in the wreck. So Robin is taking care of it, but I said I'll speak to him on Thursday. He's looked and couldn't find any names, addresses, etc. But we're clearing it, we're getting rid of it. But it is, as I say, it suddenly hit us. In the last 10 days, we've had about 15 bags of rubbish.
Is it
dumped in the wreck.
possible to determine whether this is sort of trade stuff or domestic?
It looks, according to Robin, domestic, as if someone's having a house clearance and they're chucking stuff out.
And there's nothing on the canvas that we can see.
No, it's all the
white
other
bottom, yeah.
flipping end, yes, near the old play area. No, he took some photos, sent me some tonight, because again, it happened overnight last night. So we do have, at the moment, a slight problem.
And this is the bin precisely where?
Well, they'd filled 2 or 3 of the bins around the wreck, and they'd even, he'd found bags in the big Veolia bin.
Yeah, that's up in the car
and
park.
that obviously can be seen,
Yeah.
but it's saying to us and Andrew to run back over, maybe a week's, but it really is.
How are they getting in, or are they doing it when it's open?
Possibly doing it dead of night, I don't know. But it's just strange, and as I say, tonight, just as I was leaving, he'd emailed me again, sent me some other pictures and said, must speak. So I said, look, I'm working tomorrow, let's meet on Thursday. But it is a problem we've never had before, fly tipping in the wreck, but it's suddenly hit in the last 2 weeks.
Keep an eye on that.
Yes, so that's not good. Access to the yard, I've said, we've sorted that. Letter to residents, we've covered. We obviously have the problem of Sport England, and it is causing quite a problem because at the moment I met with Stephen Marr, the chairman of Rangers. They have got help from the Football Federation because, as you know, what Rangers are doing, they're cutting the grass in season, in between the cuts, and they're cutting it every week at least once, maybe more than that, to keep the grass down. They're getting a lot of grass cuttings. That's where David Beanie's come to the rescue. he'd let us have a skip, and he'll move it. It'll cost him £100 every 2-3 weeks, but it's nothing. But they couldn't get rid of the grass. But the problem they have, they've been paying to have the grass cut. They've gone to the Football Federation, who Jeff was there with and he said, look, we'll help you to bring the pitches up to order, we'll help you cut it, we'll take the cost of lining, but what we do need is your agreement with River Recreation Ground, because we won't do it if you could be chucked off the property tomorrow. Now, we explained to Sport England the agreement we intended to enter into, which gave them basically similar rights as we have to the bowls club and tennis. And she said, oh, I don't think that's sufficient. You can't do that.
It was a very good agreement.
Yeah. And she said, well, no. So until we draw up an agreement, they can't get assistance from the Football Federation, who are as frustrated as we are now with Sport England. So basically what I've said to him, I would suggest tonight, we would give him a letter of intent with a copy of the Bowls Club and the Tennis Club's agreement, so they can see how open and fair they are. And the Football Federation may move forward on that basis. So that's the second thing I'd like Andrew to do, if you all agree, just to try to allow them to get the assistance from the Football Federation. As I say, they need some agreement in respect of the use of rec. And Sport England have said no, they don't like the agreement, they want to be party to draw it. Yes, they want to be party to drawing it up. But Rangers really are struggling to wait. The season is very soon due to start, and they obviously want all of the assistance that is possible. Football Federation have offered it, but without an agreement. So I mean, is anyone in objection to us providing that to Rangers?
Well, make a proposition.
Yeah,
Make
right.
a
Jeff was
proposition.
quite, at the meeting, Jeff was quite pleased with that agreement.
He thought it
said
was
it's a good
absolutely
one.
amazing. He couldn't believe that we've allowed them the facility at no cost whatsoever.
Yeah.
We don't know what Sport England want.
No,
Control.
what they want is
Interference.
they really do. We want our agreement drawn up. We want it done this way, that way. We don't like
Do we
this.
know any other contract that's been drawn up similar in the area, in the Dover area, that
No,
you can catch
what we're offering
off them?
is something unique. We're offering them the recreation ground at no cost whatsoever. We're offering that when the new meeting room is in place, that they'll be able to use that, providing they look after it whilst they've got games on. And we've helped them. We've even got the grass cut. You know, I mean, we're doing everything. And they're saying it costs them. It's now £60 going up to £100 to hire a pitch. So we're saving Rangers' life, and saving them money. But it's
But the fundamental point of all this is that at the end of the day, we have 2 planning applications that are stuck with Dover District Council because of the objection to them from Sport England.
Yep.
And until those objections have been withdrawn, this thing's in limbo.
Mr. Hall, for your information, the changing rooms in the recreation ground have fallen into disrepair. We had to cut the water off for fear of Legionnaire's disease. We had enforcement notices from Affinity Water. We had £1,000 fine on 17 or 20 items if we didn't do it. So there's no water in there. Nothing works. It's 20 plus years old. Rangers don't need changing rooms because they're junior players. They can't use them. They're mixed teams now. But Sport England want a changing room. And we're saying, no, you can't have a changing room. We're prepared to convert that into an area of storage and a meeting room, and they just dug their heels in and said no, 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 and they refused the planning permissions to enable us to do it. So and we've now got the situation where Rangers are about to kick off, and they can't do it without some form of agreement, and Sport England won't let us do
Bearing
what I
in
thought I'd
mind-
let you know as a keen sportsman and a football player, it's so frustrating.
But bearing in mind what the county councillor was saying, that excuse me, Dover District Council are also having problems with Sport England. Isn't it possible that a meeting could be arranged with Dover District Council to see whether they could put any pressure on these people and give them a deadline to withdraw this application or not?
I will ask the planning department of DDC if they will organise that meeting with Sport England.
Well, I wasn't
They
thinking
won't do
of
it
that.
without Sport England though.
Have we got our local MP involved or not?
No.
No,
I have mutual friends that we feel is a good
it's
idea.
Sports England permission we need, and they're just not answering anybody.
Well,
Indeed,
Because
Well,
then
DDC
our
is
MP
saying-
goes to the Minister for Sport.
no,
But
it's
it's getting Sport England to withdraw their objection. That's precisely what the...
What I suggest, Mr. Chairman, I will, together with Pauline, speak to Jeff from the Football Federation. We will collectively speak to him this week if we can get hold of him and ask him for his advice, suggestion. Football Federation are desperate for Rangers in there. They're delighted that we've done it, and they are, I know, as frustrated. The worrying thing is if DDC and indeed Kent County Council are saying you can't get Sport England to answer, what are we going to do as River Parish Council? They can't even get any answers.
Well, they can't
on
do the
big.
new swimming pool at Deal without some of their input.
Yeah.
So that's stuck on
But we
hold.
don't want. But we're not after money from Sport
No.
England. We're just asking them, allowing us
Withdraw
to
your objections.
objections.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do,
We don't go.
and I'll report back to everybody on the
Yeah, give it
forum
a
as
try.
to what we're up to. Right.
How are you getting on?
Right. There's a small area of play area surface that needs doing, and that's going to be done this month. And that will then be everything in both play areas absolutely up to scratch.
Good.
And that's
That's good.
everything covered.
Again?
Yes.
Good.
Right.
And that is,
And the dog access signs.
dog
That's all
access
sorted,
signs.
isn't it?
They've come down, and I'm going to meet now and get the other. I want signs put up on the barrier, but we've taken the ones down saying no dogs because they were completely misleading.
Confusing.
And I'm just recovering from the injury. I did it myself, and one of them cut down and absolutely sliced the junk out of me. No, I'm organising the other signs. I don't want anyone to say we didn't see the signs. And the signs down the bottom are a bit misleading, so I want on the barrier, no dogs beyond this point, and I want to make certain that on the two top gates, if you walk in past the initial sign, there's another sign there for you to see, so nobody can say you didn't see them. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So
As a dog owner, I find some of that illogical. My dog is welcome in the rugby clubhouse, but is not allowed to go and stand at the side of the pitch.
No, they're not.
And therefore is technically not allowed to go to the clubhouse, whether the dog is welcome, because they have to walk for 4 yards in front of the parked car. I think that's all pretty silly, but there you go. I'm a great believer in making people pay £1,000 fine for not picking up after their dog, but allowing them access to places.
So are we done now with
that's a
recreation?
recreation round. That's
Right.
yes.
Patrick,
Yes,
this is
certainly.
your domain.
This should be
Item 10.
short and sweet. We've had several site meetings, several meetings with contractors, and the two contractors are sorting it all out between them. They're ready to start any time. First of all, my painter is ready to do me a favour and empty the books that are in the telephone box into my garage. But we need a notice to be put on a telegraph pole to say why we're doing it and what we're doing. I offered to do it, but it was suggested this was relevant for the parish clerk to do it. So off you go. If you can just explain what we're doing and why, it'll take no longer than a couple of weeks.
Were you going to draft the notice?
Well, I offered to, but you suggested that it was inappropriate when I last offered it, so maybe the parish clerk could have a go.
You do? Okay.
I'm happy either way.
Okay.
Right, I have
Just a question. If we put up a notice to say that the lodge is going to be out of action, would it be appropriate to put an actual date that it stops being in action?
It's weather dependent. You know, the whole thing will take certainly. My painter needs 3 days, the gladian needs 2 days.
Right.
Is it going to rain? What's it going to do? We hope to have it all done and dusted within a couple of weeks.
I was thinking more about the removal of the books, because it is quite well used, that little library, funnily enough.
Yeah.
And suddenly the books all disappear, don't they?
Well, we need a notice. They'll be in my garage up the road.
Right.
Talking of the books, before I actually get on to the thing, I could do the other one. Vandalism is increasing. After dark, the local youth are nicking the books, tearing out pages and dumping them up at the attic. Now, a couple of neighbours who've observed this and complained have suggested that we could put a lock on the telephone box, and that they would volunteer to lock it in the evening and dark and unlock it in the morning. It's a question of whether we worry about the fact that, 20 books at a time often disappear with pages torn and dumped, and maybe we could consider it and make a decision at the next meeting. As I say, I have volunteers to lock and unlock.
Are we installing a lock as part of the refurbishment?
No, it will be something I have to talk to my
That's right, yeah, I'm just
contractor
thinking
about.
that, but no, if we're
It
going to
wouldn't
do
cost
it,
much.
but no, if we're going to do it, then we need to decide
No, that's true, we
now.
could decide.
Otherwise, they're going to repair it,
I think that's
and then we're going to be pulling it apart to put in a lock.
That's
Yes.
not right.
Yeah, I know, but it seems back to front to.
My painter is going to be working at my place for at least 3 weeks afterwards, He can do it
I
while
think
he's
a
there.
lock at dusk would be a good idea, because
Yes.
they'll soon get bored when they'll move on to something else to
Yeah.
lock.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, could we agree now that we would put a lock on it? It's just
Yeah.
ideal.
Yes,
And I give you the names of 2 people who will lock it and unlock
Yeah.
it appropriately.
Yes.
With
Well-
no cost, I understand.
They write those keys.
Yeah, I mean to lock at
Don't lock at
dusk
dusk
and open
and
at dawn. No problem
open
at
and
all.
on.
Yeah.
Right, now the real thing. I have an estimate as follows from Dover Glass. Well, I'll do the painter first. The painter estimate is £600, and if he is unable to paint the beading, if we choose the glass situation, before it's installed, it will be an extra £125. So he will cost between £600 and £725, but he's confident he could paint the beading first, and then the glazier could install it. So I'll do the totals later. The estimate to remove all glass and reglaze with 72 pieces of 6.4 millimetres clear laminated glass is £915. The estimate to fit the polycarbonate glazing kit, which has the advantage of being very easy to maintain because you don't have to replace the beading and the nails and things if you have damage, is £1,180. So what you're looking at is if you're replacing with real glass, you're looking at between £1,500 and £15 and £1,640, but I'm convinced it would be the £1,515. And if you were looking to replace with the other system, you'd be looking at £1,550. So cost-wise, very little difference. Ready to start as soon as the weather is sufficiently clement, and merely awaiting your authorisation.
We did discuss before the pros and cons of glass or plastic.
Yeah, I know.
And we'd said that we would go with glass because plastic, once it's scratched, it's
You
burnt.
can't take it off.
I know there is a small difference in price, but certainly I would
Well, it's virtually nothing.
would like to certainly see it done in the glass as we'd originally agreed. It may cost us slightly more for painting.
Probably not.
Yep.
John thinks he can, if the glazier gives him the beading beforehand, he will put 3 coats of paint on it as part of his original estimate of £600. It's only if he has to paint it afterwards, taping everything up, they'll charge us another 250. And I think it's worth the risk, and I agree, I think it would look nice.
Yes. And I certainly, as I say, the lock we know is going to be something additional, and we need a good lock on there. And yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
I know good locksmith person.
yeah.
So, you know, I put it at the meeting.
So how much is that altogether?
We're within a whisker of our original
We'd
budget.
originally-
Whatever.
We had a budget of 1,500, wasn't
Yeah.
it? 1,550, and we could be 1,640. So, but we'll have a lock as well on top of it. But
Yeah.
Well-
for me, it's overdue. The sooner we do it, the
Yes.
better.
Yeah, I've had several meetings. Everybody's ready to go.
Yes, no,
Just
thank
about-
you.
But it's weather dependent.
Yeah.
We would hope that it will only be shut for about 6 days maximum, but you never know. If it rains, it'll be more.
Yes.
So the proposal's glass.
Glass, yes,
Glass.
Yeah.
yes.
Everybody
Yeah.
happy with that?
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I will store the books in the meantime, and my painter, who does work for me anyway, will throw in moving them and things.
But if Andrew would do the notice, we need to put on there that we're going to remove the books from a date.
From,
As Mike, well,
we will return them as soon as possible.
Yeah, I
It's
think
not likely to be any
ASAP.
longer than 2 weeks.
yes, yeah, but I think we need to give them a date so they know when the books are going to disappear.
I do think so too. As soon as possible. They could go next week if necessary. I could actually produce a notice if you send me the necessary text I can plastify.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
You or Patrick?
Well, you send me the notice, I'll plastify it and put it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
Perfect, thank you, Andrew.
Fine.
Right,
Okay, Patrick?
telephone box. Mhm.
Right. So, we'll push on then with item
I'll keep that.
11.
Yeah.
This is mine.
Yeah, I have a meeting with Richard Haynes and Miranda Jackson at the Whitecliffs Countryside Partnership on the 21st of March to sort out the actual logistics of lifting weed and transporting it, and all the times involved on the day, because I'm in contact with the police cadets who obviously need more detail. I won't have any more detail exactly, logistics, everything until after that meeting.
They'll just need they know the date. And just
Date.
what time,
They've got the
when,
date. I
and
just
what
haven't
time and
confirmed
where to
any
meet them.
times
Yeah.
or a meeting point at this stage.
Right.
Yeah.
May I intervene? I'm not objecting to the philosophy of the
Well,
project.
excuse me, Patrick. Is that it?
Oh, I thought it was.
Yes, until that meeting, I can't really produce a lot more information. So I'm happy for Patrick to.
Okay.
Well, I'm not against the project in principle at all, but I need more information. Now, in your original report, you say, the Affinity Water is saying, we are working on the Environment Agency, etc., to get a project. And then it says, once this piece of work has been completed, we will engage with landowners to assess the feasibility. I'm a landowner,
Yeah.
haven't been engaged with you.
Right. Okay.
Now, this is not, I'm not being stroppy at all, I just have a few concerns, if I can find them. I am a landowner, it's confirmed, I don't own the water, but I own the riverbed for half of the river. I've got legal advice from at least 4 things about that. So, I believe that riparian rights owners should be consulted before it actually starts. But, now, my concerns were as follows, that owners with riparian rights are consulted, not necessarily given the power, reference to consultation with landowners. Request from a landowner, like me, I would quite like a vague plantation plan You know, not a, you know, a detailed sort of thing.
Well, how can I express this? First of all, we're not creating the day of the Triffids there.
No.
There's a small degree of experimental weed going into the river. What I have been told, that from an ecological point of view, that the success rate of the weed is not great. It's not everything we put in there isn't going to regrow. And for me, this is really more about a working relationship with partners who are involved with chalk stream management than a project. For me, transporting weed is not where I want to get to. I want to see in-channel changes, I want to see infrastructure changes, I want to see better fish migration in the river. They're bigger projects. But all I want to do now is start off a working relationship with individuals. So I don't think there's any fear that we're suddenly going to turn the river into a massively weed-packed channel.
That is something.
Now, of course, given the demands of that weed and the right conditions, there will be a plan showing where we're going to plant it, and that's one of the reasons I'm there on the 21st of March. There's no point putting it in silted areas with low flow. Ranunculus weed depends on good sunlight. It also depends on a decent flow level, and it needs a gravel bed. So, it's not, you know, quite a lot of the river, because it's so heavily silted, is not suitable. So I will be walking the river with White Cliffs to locate a plan, and I'm quite happy to produce a plan of we're going to do X kgs of weed, and they'll be placed roughly in these positions.
That is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
I also would like to make sure that we have reassurance about the preservation of current nesting sites that have been used for years by the birds that reproduce on my river every year.
Right, okay, well that's an issue I can take up with the Environment Agency.
And the protection of nesting all young birds. I've got ducks, coots and moorhens regularly come along. They always come to the same place. I have a little island in the middle of the river, which is on my side of the river, where they all rest and everything else. And I just would like a little reassurance that they're not going to be too messed around during this nesting season, and to know roughly where the stuff's going to go. That's all I'm after.
Yeah, well,
It's not just a matter of one person, though, is it? If one person has got riparian rights for the
Everybody
river,
has,
then
yeah.
everybody has. So if you're going to do something, I mean, I'm all for this. I think this is fantastic. And
I'm not guessing.
but if you're going to do it, then there should be something given to every property along the length of the river. It may well be that a lot of properties aren't going to be affected because they'll be opposite a silty, slow-moving bit anyway, won't they?
I've had some concerns for people who've been there for 40 years, you know, who've seen it all weeded up before. I've got 50 metres worth of frontage, so including a terrace on the river.
This isn't a
I
river
think
that
we're getting
is going
into
to be
quite
left
complex
on its
legal
own.
arguments, which are beyond my.
I hope we won't need the
This
legal
is a
arguments.
managed chalk stream. This is chalk stream management to get the best out of the chalk stream, isn't
Absolutely,
it?
yes.
This is not throwing a load of weeds in and letting them
No, but
take over.
I don't want to be insect infested. There's all sorts of things I
Well,
don't
I think
want
if
to do.
60% of the national insect population has gone, it's very unlikely to be overrun by any insects.
No, but I would just like to be reassured on these matters and to know what's happening.
Well,
I'm
White
not saying
Cliffs
I
have
don't like it.
consulted, White Cliffs have consulted the Environment Agency because we're moving weed from one area of the river to another, and they have given approval to that process taking place.
Perfect.
So there's no objection at this stage from this process going ahead by the Environment Agency. Yeah.
But, you know, I do feel there that riparian rights landowners should be given the chance to see it before it actually happens.
Well,
and to explain to them in detail exactly what is going to happen.
I think if you objected, though, I don't think you.
That's not absolutely sure. I've been brushing up on my law.
Right, well,
But I'm not intending
no,
to.
No,
It's
no,
not-
all I can say is, having lived outside for 10 years, my title deeds give a different picture. It says that I have riparian rights to take water from the river for irrigation. I may fish the river, but I do not own the riverbed or the water in it.
Oh, I do.
Right.
According to
Right,
my
well,
riparian
right.
rights. But I don't own the water.
No. Okay, well, that's...
So,
My
Just
house was
to try
built in
and sort of-
1846, so I don't think it
Yeah.
makes any difference.
if I may,
Yeah.
Just to bring this to a conclusion then, you have a meeting with the Riverdale people,
Whitecliffs.
Whitecliffs,
Yes. Yeah.
and this is to discuss proposals, procedure.
The procedure of moving the weed, yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
And at the conclusion of that, a plan is going to be prepared of the length of the river
Yes, and where we
involved,
will locate it.
and
yes.
where it's.
Yes.
That is
And-
absolutely perfect.
So when this plan is available,
Yeah.
what are you proposing to do with it?
What we're proposing to do with it on the 13th of May as a big help day,
Yeah,
that weed will be transported in baskets
yeah.
and placed by volunteers in the river and those strategic
But
points.
before
pointed
that, once this plan is
Yeah.
produced,
Yeah.
are you proposing to make this public?
Well, yes, I will make it public, and I would suggest that we should make it public, but where we're at the moment, this whole project, there has been an attempt to make it public, but the only conduit to our parishioners has been through one article, my Nature Watch article, in Revival. Now that has stimulated one response.
Yes.
So there's a massive
Other than me?
no, Patrick. You made up for a lot who missed out, but anyway.
But Patrick,
the fact is-
we're trying to help here.
yeah.
Oh, I know.
We're trying to help.
That was, sorry, that
I'd like
was
to
that
think
was
this
a
is going to
joke.
be reciprocated. Please.
So there is no great awareness of this project amongst parishioners, and certainly nobody in the village has walked forward and said, I would like to get involved with it. Simply because the communication levels are so low, they're almost
Yes.
below the radar.
Really.
So that's where we're at the
On
moment.
Facebook.
Yeah.
We can put it on the parish one.
I think it would be unfair to give the landowners, which we technically are, advance warning before it actually happens.
I think
And many
we should,
of them
yeah.
might wish to help.
Well, I think we can do an abbreviated post on, or at least on the parish website to say,
Yes.
rather like we did when we walked over the down for the inspection,
And,
that this
and,
is
our,
yes.
and our notice boards.
Yes, that's right, yes, yeah.
Well,
So I think in the, I mean, I have a lot of sympathy with your sort of communication problem.
Yeah.
This is nothing new,
Right.
but I think the way to do it is the opposite way to normal. And that will be to perhaps, once you have this plan
Yeah.
available
Yeah.
as soon as possible,
Yeah.
I think that it would be best to use the sort of medium that we've got,
Yeah.
which is our own website
Yes, yeah.
and the notice boards, and to say, a little bit like it used to be on the buses, you know, what I mean, about tickets and things like that, that for the regulations of bus services are available on request. You know, it's that sort of approach.
Yes, yeah.
And that if you've got a contact point,
Yeah.
possibly your good self,
Yes, yeah.
that anybody that is interested,
Yeah.
please contact this telephone number or
Yeah. Oh,
Councillor Innes by such and such a time.
Yeah.
You know, and if there is anybody else that is known who has declared, i.e. Patrick,
yes, yeah.
they can sort of be contacted
absolutely.
directly.
Well, we have set up a dedicated email address, which is our
Yeah.
finest hour
Yes, I
on
saw that.
AOL,
Yeah,
and I'm quite happy to take those questions.
yeah,
But I mean, I feel the same. I think we need more awareness of this so
yeah.
that individuals can express.
So if we
yeah.
try to do it that way, as soon as it is possible,
Yeah.
as soon as it is available,
Yeah.
to put these points of communication
Yeah.
in there that we've
Yeah.
just described, and contact Patrick and anybody else that has expressed an interest as well. I don't know whether there is anybody else.
yes, I've been talking to some neighbours who'd like to know more about it as well.
Okay, but anybody else that can be contacted directly.
And I think it's
I mean, the way that I'm getting at, that to avoid us finding ourselves in the position, or yourself
Yeah.
in the position, is sort of somebody, and there will be people who turn around afterwards and
Yeah.
say, I didn't know what the hell
Oh,
was
they
going
will.
on.
Yes.
We
Yeah.
can put it out that way.
Okay?
Yeah. No, I fully.
Just one last word. I'd like to go further, and I think we ought to put the plan through letterboxes.
Do Do you want to do it?
Yes?
Well,
Happy. It's only a couple of hours away. You know, I
2,000 houses?
More than the full length of the river.
No, just the ones
oh,
on the
it's
river.
only, it's not people on the other side of the roads in question, you know.
I think we need
No,
to make,
but
no,
people
sorry,
in
if
their
I,
back gardens
if
are-
I could
yeah,
interrupt
take
there,
one.
Yeah.
we should make the whole of River aware of what we're looking to do. It's not just the owners of the river rights, etc., that should have a say on this. It should be River as a village.
So we could get the river
Well, if you like, but
What about
Yes,
what about the timing of this then?
Well, the timing of this, that's a very good point. The reason it's the best time to transplant this weed is during May, June, when it's in the flowering stage. That gives its best chance of survival. That's the basic gardening fact. But the main reason of that date was talking with Christiane, who felt that there ought to be some sort of eco-type aspect to the coronation celebration.
exactly.
And of course, I called King Charles our climate king, really, given his activities. So we thought we might meld that together. But there's absolutely no reason, if we feel tactically we need more time to create the awareness, to push it back any time from the middle of May to the end of June. I'm quite happy with that.
I'm worried about breeding birds.
Well, we are going to see a situation over May and June where most of the river birds will be breeding, okay? Okay.
My concern,
A lot.
my
Yeah.
concern, and
Yeah.
as you've brought this up,
Yeah.
is that once this plan is available, to deliver this through every letterbox in River is going to be
No, I was just
feat.
thinking of landowners.
Well, I think my original proposal, and I don't want to harp back on this, was for the March issue of Reval to have a flyer with it, so there's a separate envelope going with it, so that the
Oh, that would
householder gets something. But we're past that stage now.
Oh.
Yeah.
But I will take advice from the Environment Agency about the nesting bird aspect and being in the river during that time. But I'm not adverse to those dates moving over as much as a 6-week period if we feel we just need more time to contemplate this.
Well,
Go with that.
if we, I mean, I can't remember it now, so who suggested every house in River, but that is not going to be an easy task. I mean, if we took this on, which we can't, if we took this on as the Parish Council, I mean, if I said, I'll do the houses along here and so on, I mean, even if we all did a few houses around where we
I
live,
agree,
it's not going to get anywhere near it.
Well, I'm just
How
thinking of landowners.
how do we distribute the Rival magazine? How
It's
does that
online,
With
a lot of
difficulty.
it now.
With difficulty, I've been involved in doing that, and it's not an easy task.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I think the rival personally should start to be in electronic form as well.
It
Because
is.
with
It
those-
is, but it's not very well accessed.
Well, it should be a lot better publicised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, I think we start opening it up for lots of information to a different part of the demography. You know, we've got all the younger people who probably will not bother to pick up the rival, but they're quite happy to look at it on their phone.
Well, it is, if they go on the river park, they have to go on the site to get to it, and we've got to get that publicity out there.
Yeah.
I agree.
It would make it a lot easier in terms
Yeah,
of...
it is online, it has been for
Well,
quite a while.
I mean, we're not going to resolve this here
No, we're
now
not.
tonight.
I
So
think we ought
I'd
to
like
be
to
very
draw
clear.
this particular topic to a
Yeah.
close
Yeah.
and sort of put it back to you, Michael.
Yes, yeah.
Is that if you feel that this ought to go through every letterbox in River,
Yeah.
I think you're going to
Yeah.
have to give it some thought as
Yeah,
to
no,
how it's going to happen.
I'll take that out of the equation. I just thought quite simply, because we had this mechanic of delivering the Rival magazine, it would be simple to add something to that.
Sure.
But being bi-monthly, we rather miss the boat on that. But no, I'm not going to suggest that at all. What I will make sure of that all of the aspects we talked about today are brought up with my meeting at Whitecliffs on the 21st.
Okay.
Okay.
Fine.
And if you keep me updated, I can inform
Thank
a
you.
few people who have
Of course, yeah.
expressed their
So
doubts to me.
we'll move on then to item 12, which is to discuss the speaker for the AGM. Any further thoughts?
Do we know how many members we've had?
There's something sneaking at the end of the minutes there, that whilst I wasn't at the last meeting,
Yes.
Christiane decided to give me the King's shilling here.
She did,
And
didn't she?
and
Yes.
she had somewhat enthusiastic report with our gentleman here in his suit and tie. But,
Yes.
So I would do it if I have a story to tell.
Yeah.
Okay. At the moment, I don't have a story to tell because the village aren't engaged in this. And if they're not going to engage in the process, why do they want to hear me wang on about it? Yeah.
That's why I say that we need to let everyone in the village know of what we plan to do.
Yeah.
We haven't got to put something through the door. We can
No,
do it on our web page. You've got the River Forum. So many,
Yeah,
1,000
there's a lot
plus
to put out
people read that. They would be interested to know. They complain that we don't do anything, and it would be good that they see that we're trying to do
would the school
something.
let you put it on their
I'm
newsletter?
certain they would.
I might do. I usually think good.
Yes.
Can I just ask, couldn't somebody remind me as to who has been the guest speakers in previous AGMs? Just to give you an idea of the...
We've had a number of them, but the trouble is, we had a chap down here from Dover District Council who was very good. He's the chap in charge of refuse and litter and dogs. AJ Kachelski
Yep.
or something. But it's such a long time since we've had a speaker, and more particularly, our concern is that the attendance from the local residents has been declining to the point of last year when there was not one single local resident turned up. So if we book a speaker, the finest speaker in the land,
No,
Why do we need a speaker? Dissenting voice here.
It's an evening where if you haven't got a speaker, you're trying to spin it out there isn't a lot of business that takes place.
We have to hold an
Yes.
AGM.
Yep.
We have an official business to maintain, to discharge rather. But I think we can't help but sort of wonder, and perhaps we have to look to ourselves in some ways to this, that are we sort of satisfied that the attendance from the local residents at our meetings generally, and in particular the AGM, really what it should be?
It's not. I can only say that when I used to go attend Orkham would be packed every meeting, and I'm talking 20, 30, 40 people, and for their AGM, it was standing room only. But I've never, in all the time I've come to River Parish Council, ever seen more than maybe 6 or 8 people.
Exactly.
And in the last couple of years, that number has dropped. It's dropped and it's dropping. And my reason for saying when it was suggested it might possibly it would be something that I think would be very interesting, but B, it wouldn't be so embarrassing if it's just a parish councillor sitting there receiving it. Nothing worse, we invite a speaker and nobody turns up. Nobody turns up.
Yes.
If I can interject with one thing. I used to work for Tilmston as well.
Patrick, please.
Similar to Orkham, they used to get a high turnout, more than a dozen people, 20 people every month. I've also spoken to other parish clerks, other small parishes where they get absolutely no one at all. One clerk told me that they hadn't had anybody in years. So the attendance at these meetings is not proportionate to the size of the parish. Second thing is that the AGM, to remind you, it has 2 elements. You have the annual general meeting, which is a sort of set piece of the general meeting, appoint people, etc. And there is the annual parish meeting, which is the second part, and that's where we have the speaker. Some parishes actually have separate dates. They don't necessarily have to have them on the same date. You don't have to have particular speaker. You can have an exhibition, a display, something like that. Which would be considered to be something different. I'm not sure what the rules exactly are on when you have to have the parish meeting. The AGM needs to be in a set window in May. But it's another consideration. I'm saying to do something, not necessarily speak. If you get something with the Riverdale project, if there would be some kind of difficult display based on that, but not necessarily at the AGM.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. We certainly need to start making our mind up on it because it's not far away. You know, whatever we're doing, we need to have planned it.
I'm happy to stand in as a reserve, and I think that we could do something factual, a light touch with a dash of humour to it. 10 minutes would be enough. The only thing is I'm quite happy to do the creative content, but I've got no production facilities at all. So I'm quite happy to write it, create it. I might need someone to do the photographers if my hands are wet all the time in the river, if anybody wants to volunteer for that. But I'm quite happy to do it. And I think we can make a story out of it. I mean, it might be a bit of a...
Oh, I'm helping that.
I think that would be great.
Yeah, that would be.
As long as if somebody's
I mean,
here
there's some
anyway, all
advertising
bases are
shortly.
covered.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's probably the best that we can do.
Yeah.
So,
And that does sound awful, but it's not the best. You know what I'm saying? We really
Actually,
appreciate
my art
you doing
master
it.
described my artistic abilities as a pleasing, superficial style. So I think I'll leave it there.
Okay, well, we'll accept your sort of, if a little
All activity,
reluctance.
yeah,
Sort
yeah.
of.
Thank you.
Not looking to be, the Oscars or anything, are we?
Okay, item 13, any other correspondence received?
I will report the resignation of Councillor Underhill, which we received this week. She's changed her job.
She's slightly busy.
Shifts, and so it's finding it difficult to attend
Shame.
meetings, although she says she would like to remain part of the events committee. Other thing is I had a letter from the Rotary Club inviting
From Roger. Yes, Thursday.
to a meeting or something, an open day.
Open day on Thursday, 9 o'clock till 6 o'clock in the evening.
There you are, open day Thursday at the, where is it?
Holiday Inn.
Holiday, if anyone would like to attend.
That's
It's no longer my Rotary Club, but I'll be there. I'm
What time is
exhibiting Shutterbox. 9 to 6.
9 till 6.
Is that the Dover Rotary Club?
That's Dover Rotary Club. I'm a member of Deal,
So
but
is
I'm
that the
there
holiday?
promoting Shutterbox,
An
which
invitation
I'm
to you and members of the Parish Council to join us on the day, find out a little more about the club and what Rotary does.
that's
Well,
Thursday.
you talk
This
on that.
Thursday or next
Anytime
Thursday?
you like.
This Thursday, 16th.
Okay. You'll see me presenting a very worthwhile character.
Okay.
9 p.m.
9 till 6.
Item 14, any items for information? I believe,
Well, just one thing, Mr. Chairman. When I got in tonight, Leslie said to me, "Great, 20 mile per hour speed limits are in place, signs." But she said, "There's nothing if you come down Common Lane, turn right into Lower Road."
needs another blob in the road, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's-
I think there is, if you come down Common Lane, you're fine. The trouble is, if you start from the end of Lower Road, there is a 20 miles sign. But what is absolutely needed is another 20-mile sign to the left of the exit from the car park.
Yeah.
Because people
There's nothing
feel
there.
by the time they've
It's a
got
reminder.
there, it's no longer valid.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the
And-
stupid thing about it is that there is another one, but this is outside Katie's shop where there's always a car parked on it. So it does need another
we need
one.
because I think
Just
it's
past
not
the steps.
just those that are coming through, but it's
Yeah.
as
It
you
does
turn
look like
down
it stops
Cape
by the
Road as
co-op.
well.
Yeah, it
You
does
need
look
to-
like it stops at the
But
co-op.
the
That's
people
what
who
I
are coming
said,
out of the co-op
Yeah.
park, or people who are coming from the end of, well, from the old Dublin, they think that it stops when you get to the T-junction at the co-op.
Well, they could be forgiven for thinking.
And they will get away with any
Yeah,
any
yes.
action, I'm sure, if they've got a decent lawyer. They're still tanking down at 40 to 50 miles an hour past my house, and it's still as dangerous as ever.
Still, there's no, they need a couple on the
So does the
floors.
25 mile an hour go all the way down to the bridge?
Yes.
Yes.
But there's no signs to say it.
Yes.
Right from the
There's
beginning.
only one,
Yeah,
Twenty.
it just
I call
stops.
them a blob in the road, you know,
Yeah.
with 20 on it.
Totally
But it
inadequate.
needs another one,
Mm.
sort of just between, somewhere between the co-op and the Royal Oak. It needs
Yeah, somewhere in my
And then
house,
one
actually.
after that as well.
Yes.
Because
You
there's
definitely
nothing
don't.
after
You
One
that.
in my house.
It's because if you come past there, and if you're coming down Cowper, it looks as is that 20 because the 20 sign
Common
is
lane.
actually common lane. Sorry,
Yeah.
at the bottom.
Yeah.
You definitely need one
There's
when you
nothing.
turn.
Just round the
into-
corner
yes.
past the co-op.
So, shall we,
Can we
Could you
organise
manage this?
those?
Yeah.
No, have to ask.
Yeah,
Ask
right.
them
No,
why they
that's-
didn't
that's
put them
right.
down.
No.
can we get in touch with Highways and request
Say you didn't
that
want.
they put 2 additional
Signal
20
road.
meters in the road.
And one sign past the
One
co-op.
between the co-op and the Royal Oak, and the other one sort of along the last stretch opposite
Yeah, that's
Riverdale.
Yes.
absolutely
I think we could use a proper sign as well, just to the left of the co-op car park.
It's a bit busy there though, isn't it? There's all sorts of things
I think we've,
on the pavements there, but I think there should be another one.
Yes.
It's on the road.
Because when you
used to
turn
see
right,
it.
it goes 30.
Yes.
So that's very clear, so we should...
Mm. I mean, one of my neighbours has attempted to remind people that it's 20 and has been, how shall I put it, obscenely insulted every
There's nothing
time.
to say there is. No. It needs
But
more on the floor.
We need
But
that.
we
No.
need more on the floor and we need more signs, I believe, by the side
Yeah,
of the road.
so, now, we're the only country that doesn't do it, unfortunately, but on the continent, you have every X metres, they put a reminder sign, but we don't do that, it's not part of our signalling situation, like everything else in this country. Well,
right, so we'll get in touch with
Yeah.
Kent Highways and
Yeah, we'll get
request.
those now.
Andrew, is that you? Or-
Yeah,
Yes, sorry. Yeah.
And if they come back about, well, that's going to cost further, you say, well, we don't feel we've got our money's worth already for what
We
we
have
paid
got our
for
money's
it.
worth.
Oh, we
The
don't,
ex-men
we
who
don't
spend
ex-
half a day doing the minimal amount that they're doing at the moment, it costs us X thousand pounds of more.
we don't expect there to be any charge for
We
this.
do not.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
No.
Okay, well, nothing else?
Any other business?
No.
Declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much indeed.